I'm Sean Bean. I am the Chief of Police here in Pingree Grove, and I've been employed here for the past 13 years when the department was first organized. I wanted to share some information to you for the upcoming election. I believe that the SAFE referendum is very, very important to the police department and the community and the safety of the residents. We have had a 40% increase in calls for service in the past 4 years. This is very disturbing to me, especially with the fact that we have not had an increase in employees answering these calls. 13 years ago when I started here, the population was 1,400 residents. We have now grown to 9,000 13 years later, and our calls and types of calls for service have completely changed. We've progressed from the sleepy little community that we once were, and the officers are now answering calls that are falling more into the dangerous category than just calls for service and or paper type calls.
Here's just an example of how backed up we are with just investigations. Here we have over a dozen 2019 cases that we're still working, that, and still getting cases piled on top of us to where we can't even keep up in closed cases from last year.
I've been asked what my biggest concern is as the police chief here in Pingree Grove. That concern is the fact that at times I only have one officer on duty patrolling our entire community here. That is a huge safety factor, not only for the officer, but for the community as well. That means that only one officer is responding to a call for service. And if it's you who's waiting for the officers to get there, you want as many to get there as soon as you can.
We rely a lot on Gilbert's, Hampshire, and Kane County Sheriff's Department to back our officers up. And then typically if there is a call where there's an arrest, then a supervisor, myself or Sergeant Burns or Lieutenant Harris will get called in the middle of the night to help process an arrestee if we have an arrestee. And if we do have an arrestee, that basically that's our whole staffing is down on that until we can clear that up.
With only 6 full-time officers, we have found ourselves relying upon our part-timers. Originally, they should have been supplementing our full-time force, but the reliance upon them has made it very difficult trying to fill our schedule.
So the scheduling and staffing, it's pretty difficult. The majority of the officers are part-time, so we gotta work their schedules around their full-time jobs. In any given month, we have anywhere from 20 to 40 changes from the original schedule that I put out for the month. Myself and the full-time officers have actually been putting in, since we're short 2 full-timers right now, we've been putting in a lot of time on our days off just to cover, the basic shifts, so we have coverage.
Our police fleet consists of 8 vehicles. The average number of miles on that's 100,000 miles, which maybe doesn't sound like a lot, but that means an equivalent of 200,000 miles of service because of the idling that the vehicles are required to keep our computers and other electronics in service. 3 of the vehicles, including the one I'm sitting in right now, has over 150,000 miles.
A board that shows all the squad cars we have. As you can see, 3 of them are on chargers. So if it's not on charger, sometimes even if they are on charger, we still have to jump start them to get them going, and then we have to leave them running all shifts so that, because everyone's afraid that it might not start again. This is Squad 109, the pickup truck that has something draining the battery. As you can see, we have a battery charger hooked up to it. And like I said, if we don't have the battery charger hooked up after a couple of days, it needs to be jump started. Dead. Nothing. Even hooked up to the battery charger, something's draining the battery and doesn't even start.
You might wonder why we simply don't just replace the batteries and alternators in these vehicles. Each of them was acquired used, and the electrical systems are heavily modified prior to us purchasing them. The cost to repair them exceeds the cost of the vehicles.
Our newest squad cars here that only the full-timers use, and we already have almost 41,000 miles on it.
All of these challenges come at a time that a demand for service is great. Between 2016 and 2019, our total volume of calls increased to 3,155, which is a 40% increase. I hope that this short video will help you in making an informed decision this Tuesday.